presenter is Dr. Anneli Driessen. Can we put her up on the pin? Anneli is a master certified coach, clinical counselor, spiritual healer, ordained metaphysical minister, author and scholar of metaphysics and practical philosophy for over 35 years. She is the founder of and CEO of the International Metaphysical Academy, with focus on advanced spiritual education for consciousness expansion through new knowledge, critical thinking, personal responsibility, and love. Let me tell you guys, she's all love. Please help me welcome Dr. Anneli Driessen. Oh my goodness, Anneli, we've known each other for a while. You've been in my world. Thank you for coming into my world. So glad to have you here. So you know what? Everybody has this notion and assumptions about metaphysics. Why don't you just enlighten us? You're the expert on this for sure. So please, what is metaphysics?
Well, thank you and good morning, everyone. I've been really looking forward to share my thoughts with you. Let me start to backtrack a little bit. Because metaphysics is such a term that is used everywhere. And if I ask people, they typically say, well, I don't really know quite what it is, but I know this and this is probably part of it. So let me share with you something really interesting first. There was a man in the 18th century by the name of Voltaire. I assume that most of you have heard of him. He lived in France, and he was what in German language we would call a social critic, or you would call him today a political theorist, perhaps. He was quite a thinker, but he also was quite a stinker, because he mocked a lot of things that were going on in society and in politics. By the way, he also was one of the first ones who really strongly promoted democracy. And so, of course, like many others today who say things that are not part of the mainstream thinking, he got into a lot of trouble. He was in jail a few times, in and out, and for some time he got himself into the UK and made a deal rather than having a lifelong sentence in the Bastille, which was not a lot of fun to be in. And so he went to England, but then he got back and he kept writing and writing. And one of the things he once wrote, and it sort of set the tone on the subject, he wrote, when two philosophers are having a discussion and don't understand another, it's called metaphysics. And then he said, and if they don't understand themselves anymore what they're talking about, it's called higher metaphysics. So, of course, that just sort of gives you an idea that there is and was and still is quite a bit of confusion on that. So Orly asked me earlier to keep it simple. So I was thinking of looking for an analogy or another analogy that gives you an idea of metaphysics today. So think of a big stew. You know, you have a stew with a good stock. It could be really good quality, or it could be, you know, something out of a can that is maybe primarily salt and some spices. And then you throw in some good meat, maybe some good, maybe not so good. Maybe you throw in a few things that you really didn't want to eat anymore, but they were leftovers. And then you add some vegetables. And then you eat, you know, you just throw in all together and you cook it all up and you spice it and then you eat it or make everyone else eat it. So that's a little bit like what's metaphysics today. It really is a compilation of very complex domains of study. For example, a part of that is energy, everything that has to do about energy and vibration. Another one is about telepathy. Another one is about universal laws and principles, about physics, about unexplainable phenomena that are usually not visible to us or not visible to many of us. And there is consciousness research, there is studies on intelligence, on mysticism, on spirituality. I mean, it's just like this big stew, right? And so for us, it's often difficult to find out what is entertainment, what is feel good, what is simply wrong, or what is of real value. What's are some of the sources that we are exposed to that make us help, or that help us to make better choices. And so of course, I'm very biased. I believe that the Metaphysical Academy is probably one of the best sources of information that is available today, and it's a very comprehensive study. And it, you know, as I mentioned earlier to some of you here, it's not for everyone. It's only for those who really mean business and want to get at the root of things. And I will share with you a little bit later about the source of information that I have, which is really important as well. But I want to really stress a couple of things when it comes to metaphysics, which, by the way, comes from Greek and stands for meta, means above, and physics means, of course, physics. But the translation often means above physics or above nature. And so that's a term you find a lot, and you find, you know, when you look at the internet and you see different definitions, there's a lot of it out there. And of course, we know today that it's not above physics. It is physics. And in this century, and in also the beginning of the last century, there were, you know, very famous people that you probably know about and relate to, who were forerunners of modern metaphysics. And suddenly it has become a vast area of study. And I would like to propose to look at the possibility, at least, that metaphysics is the science of the future. It really allows us to expanded thinking and knowledge. And you know, whenever we have just a little bit more knowledge, we have more chances to make better choices. And this is why metaphysics is not just some woo-woo stuff out there, any kind of feel-good spirituality and any dabbling into things, you know, that have to do with energy. It's really more about profoundly understanding what is behind all this. And when you look, for example, at the fact that there are different layers of bodies around us that we need to take care of as well. There is a phenomena of intuition that we all relate to. We often refer to it as coming from the heart or being heart-centered. But there is something that's often missed in metaphysics, and that is to use our mind, our critical thinking. And this is such a crucial aspect of what I'm proposing and what is like a theme throughout the Metaphysical Academy as well. And this is something God has given to us to use and to not just get lost in feelings. So we have to look at the different subject matters that are part of metaphysics to understand and rethink some of the choices that we might need to make, or in some of the clarifications we might need to make. For example, we ask questions. What do I do after I'm dead? What's happening? What are the different dimensions that I may go through, or the different experience or different new decisions I'll be able to make? Are there other worlds? If yes, what they look like? What is the soul? What's the spirit? What's the difference? What is a healthy soul? What can I do to make it healthy? What is karma? Karma, I believe, is one of the most misunderstood concepts that's out there. What's the difference between karma and voluntary learning? What are contracts that we make before we come here? I'll give you an example. I attended a workshop last week, an online workshop, and the subject was dissolving karmic contracts. And it was done by a lady local here in Victoria, very, very lovely, one, quite known, a medium. And unfortunately, there was a confusion of terms. When we have a contract, we fulfill the contract. We cannot just breathe it away or meditate it away or do forgiveness exercises. We do this contract as well as completing our agreements for voluntary learning. Oftentimes we don't know if it's karmic stuff that I'm dealing with, or is it something that I agreed to advance, that maybe my future will be a little bit easier when I'm in the beyond and I can maybe move through different dimensions a little faster. There are all these kinds of questions. Another one that we address, and there are many, if you look at our website content, there are many subjects that we cover. Another one would be, well, who or what is God? And we look at definitions if we want to call God, all that is, or universal intelligence, or higher spirit, or universe, whatever. We come and decide on denominators of terminology, which is really important in order to have a somewhat decent conversation. And what are God's intentions? Does he in fact have any? What does he expect of us? Does he need to be worshipped? If he's God the Almighty, why would he need to be worshipped? Or is there any other reason why worship is important? Maybe
Dr.
it's
Anneli,
yes,
somebody's asking what are contracts?
contracts. Very
Yes,
good question.
patent.
Contracts.
Yeah, what are
Before we incarnate, we have the opportunity to make agreements and then contracts about what we want to experience in this lifetime. And this very much has to do with the level of consciousness we have already acquired prior to incarnation. This is a very complex subject, and so I need to keep it really, really brief. But what I would like to offer is to contact me, and we can have private conversation on that, and I give you a little more background. Will that be okay? Yeah, I can see you right now and hear you right now. But a very, very important difference between contracts and karma. So that is just one example. Another subject I was just listening to last Friday, to a presentation that Rupert Sheldrake did to the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And here, of course, many of you know him, but he has done some remarkable research on the morphic field. And he talks about the interconnectedness of fields, not just between us here, but also animals and things and plants, and the different levels of connection through collective thought. It's just so interesting. And as I said, I really do believe it's the science of the future. Then what are mediums? What are the different types of mediums? What are the masters? What are ascendant masters? What is the difference? And then really practical things that often people struggle with is, what about organ donation? How does it relate to the spiritual world? How does the spiritual world look at this? What are cults and sects? What are the major world religions, and what do they have in common, and how do they differ? I mean, you can just see that there is just such a wide range of subjects that we are looking at, and they are important because, again, they help us to understand more about why we're here, what our job is. They help us more understand to connect with our values, as Pat really pointed out earlier, and several of our speakers yesterday, and then really make decisions on priorities and live them. You see, there is so much talk now about consciousness expansion, but consciousness expansion does not just relate to knowledge, it relates to action. And that is an aspect often that is forgotten or not really paid much attention to. Someone can have a very expanded consciousness who may not have any kind of intellectual or academic knowledge. It could be the person who works in the field, has his hands rough, and tries to feed his 5 children with his work, and does it with honesty and love and integrity and service. So intellectual knowledge is important, but it's not vital. And therefore, spiritual knowledge or metaphysical knowledge needs to be presented in a simplistic way that everyone can understand it. And as you know, if there is profound knowledge about anything, you always can explain it in simple terms. And so the people that are usually attracted to what we have to offer with the Academy are not necessarily people who are already into the spiritual realm. They might be. Many come and have a significant amount of knowledge and experience already. But often these are people who just really want to learn more and want to understand more about life and the reason why we're here, and get some insight into the deeper understandings of why all this stuff that we're experiencing now is going on, and understand the broader context of what's happening. I give you another example. For many people that I encountered anyway, who are very interested in metaphysical knowledge, uh, like to get involved with experiential spirituality that allows them to feel certain sensations, make them feel good, make them feel happy. They go very much into light and healing and all that. And that is very good, and oftentimes a real entry into the world of metaphysics. However, there are also some dangers, and that's one of the things that we cover also in the academy. And that is that sometimes people use this as an escape to really look at life. They get lost into this, what I call spiritainment, or only feel good spirituality. And what they don't want to recognize is that we also have in this dimension negative forces. And we need to know about them, need to learn how to identify them, and then again make wiser choices. Where do I get involved? Where do I need to pay attention? Where do I see a red flag? Where do I feel intuitively that there is something off? And then inquire and ask questions. And I so much enjoyed, Pat, your presentation earlier. So much is around connecting with ourselves and learning how to trust our perceptions and our intuition on that, but also simultaneously think. We need to think. And that is something that I just want to so much encourage everyone here in this conference to incorporate into your daily life, because life is good and it is beautiful, and there is so much that is going on now that is positive. We just need to see it and need to look at it and need to recognize it and then celebrate it. Bert, you said earlier, there is so much to celebrate, so many little things that are happening that we can be more alert to, we can pay more attention to, and appreciate the smallest things every day. One of the things with this pandemic that really came home to me more than ever in my life is to appreciate the small things. Sometimes I just sit a few moments in front of my home on the doorsteps and just breathe and see the spring blossoms and take in the fragrances and hear the birds, and I'm just in awe. It's something that I never really paid attention to that degree. The magnificence of creation and the opportunities we have in this world now, to really advance and and I don't mean that in a righteous way. Probably the word expansion is more accurate. Uh, it's just enormous. It's just absolutely enormous. And the way how we can open our hearts now and love and forgive and embrace and incorporate and set boundaries, and all of this that is presented during this conference is so beautiful and so much fitting of what we do these days. And so I would like to really encourage you to invest into yourself. Don't wait until you are on your deathbed. Don't wait until you have this horrible wake-up call through an accident or a sudden illness or the loss of a loved one. Do it now, and that is what the theme is of my presentation to you. It's important now to study this stuff and really think and learn more about this life and the opportunities it has for you and your loved ones and the world eventually. And so Orly and all your team, to putting on this conference to support all of this is I'm so much appreciating. I mean, you're doing such an incredible job, and the energy is positive and it's loving, it's respectful, it's responsible, and has all the elements that we are promoting as well in the academy. And let me share with you something that I just got through this morning during my meditation. I thought about it yesterday and I sort of dismissed it. And then this morning it became really clear. What I want to give to you is a complimentary tuition to the first module of the Academy's program, which is starting September 18th. Its tuition fee is $2,000. It goes for the whole year. We meet once a month on a Saturday for a few hours. And it's about 60 hours of training. It's packed with information. You get all the study materials. And then there's homework assignment in between, lots of conversation with the most interesting people from all over the world. And so I want to give this to you. So whoever is the lucky winner, you will have a $2,000 complimentary tuition fee for the Academy program. There's one hook though. I would like to interview you first and make sure that it really fits your needs and give you more information about it. So that's my gift for today. I have another one, which we hear probably about later, but this is what I thought I will do. And this gift is also transferable. So if you decide this is not your cup of tea, you're welcome to give it to someone you love. And again, I would like to interview this person and make sure that we are a good fit. So anyway, here it is. In conclusion, I want to share with you something else briefly, and that is often a question that comes where people say, well, how do you know this stuff? Well, where do you have this knowledge from? Well, now I'm going to make a little bit of a stretch. Years ago, and there's a lot of story on that, which I don't have time to share, but years ago, over 25 years ago, I came across a very unusual channel. This channel is a woman by the name of Manuela, who lives in Austria. She's a woman in her 60s, and she is a most unusual channel. And I say that because I studied over 150 different types over the years. And it took me a while even to get involved because I thought, why would I do this here? I live in Canada. Why would I get involved with someone in Germany? So I flew back and forth a few times, worked with her. And she is a most unusual channel, not only with regard to the content of information that we receive, which is one of a kind, but also the way how she transmits it. She was contacted by the Beyond originally, and she writes from right to left and upside down. So if I would have a piece of paper here, she would start to write at the bottom from right to left and upside down. So you sit across from her to read the information. So people can go there and ask questions, but also I have documented and translated thousands, not hundreds, thousands of documents from German into English. And this information is an integrated part of the Metaphysical Academy. So it's new information. It's sometimes totally out of the box thinking. And what I suggest is that, don't take it if it doesn't resonate. This is not a cult. This is not a sect. We don't have doctrines. But what I do recommend is when you have new information, put it on a shelf if it's too much to handle and revisit it later. So don't knock it out. Just hang in there for a while because truth fits. Pieces of information of truth are like a puzzle that fits, and then revisit it later. And of course, we all come with different belief systems. I have people come from different religious backgrounds or no religious backgrounds. But many are spiritually open. Well, all of them are spiritually open and interested. And so we get together and we share our experiences and thoughts and inquire. And we have many, many answers from the beyond that are transmitted, one of a kind. I know that now, and I know that maybe sounds a little bit strange, but I will give you more information on that if you're interested at a later time. And it's mind-boggling. And I tell you, I know that I'm here on this planet to do this job. My entire life prepared me for sharing this. And our goal is, my goal is, to have this incredible new knowledge available for the next few hundred years, because it's life changing and it will make the world a safer and better place. So thank you so much for having me here, Oli and team, and allowing me to share my thoughts on metaphysics. I'm available. You can contact me through the Academy, Anneli at metaphysicalacademy.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm not very active in Facebook, but certainly on LinkedIn and through email correspondence. So thank you, everyone. And I know my time is up. It was such a great pleasure to be with you and to share my experiences and thoughts with you. And I really, in completion, encourage you, don't wait. Do it now. It's important and it takes time to learn it. It's not something you acquire in a weekend workshop. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This was awesome. Wow. Okay. So now we've demystified what is metaphysics. I mean, right? We've heard it so many times, law of attraction, all that stuff. And it's one of the doctors on the law of attraction movie, The Secret, which everybody knows of. He says, this is not wishful thinking, right? And then he explains how metaphysics works, how the energy works, how it's actually, our brain transmitters and all that good stuff. And if you want to learn more, well, speak to Anneli, because I'm not really the expert. And let's get some music going so we can get some more energy before we bring our next